Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This amendment will help breweries in Minnesota sell to-go containers that are a growler size or a half-gallon or less. There's over 170 breweries in Minnesota. Many of us have them in our communities, and they are trying to stay afloat during this time of the COVID crisis and the restrictions that the state has put on them in order to operate. Growlers are these half-gallon brown jugs that you see people fill up at the brewery. They seal, they shrink wrap them, and send them out the door so people can take them to dinner parties to enjoy with friends. And breweries are trying to stay afloat by selling only curbside pickup for growlers, and then also Minnesota has the ability to sell crawlers, which are half growlers, most frequently put into cans. But unlike the other states that allow these, Minnesota has a restriction that crawlers have to be an exact size of 25.3605 ounces. There is one manufacturer in the United States that makes these 25.3605 ounce cans. And this manufacturer is back ordered and will be for months. We need to allow more flexibility for breweries to stay afloat. There's also high content alcohol beer that's being produced, and I think it's irresponsible of this body to require that people buy beer in such large containers. We should allow the flexibility in different product selection for customers. Overall, we need to create a longer runway for breweries to get off the ground, to get their business off the ground. And only 30% of the breweries in Minnesota actually distribute through a wholesaler, which means 70% of the breweries don't have distribution. They're not selling to liquor stores unless they self-deliver the products themselves. Many of them are putting beer into kegs for restaurants, which, as all of you know, restaurants are not selling beer from a tap, from a keg. So this leaves very little option for breweries to stay afloat. This isn't going to increase the overall amount of off-sale beer that breweries can sell. There's still a 750-barrel annual cap on all of the products they sell out the door, so this isn't going to increase that. There's still a 20,000-barrel annual production cap for off-sale, so they'll still no longer be able to sell off-sale if they've reached that overall capacity. And the 20,000-barrel annual limit also applies to their self-distribution limit. So if they hit that maximum 20,000 barrel a year cap, they also have to self-distribute. We need to do this for the breweries because we have hurt their business. We have taken business from them. And moreover, the breweries want this. I have letters of support from breweries who asked for this last year when we wanted it because it is so restrictive. I know that you guys are going to be bringing forward an amendment to give this temporary relief to breweries, allowing them for a period of 2 months to have different size cans, but that isn't enough. Because the 70% of the breweries that don't have distribution, they don't have canning lines set up in their breweries. Many of them that do can and crawlers have purchased the equipment to can in this specialized size can. But with your provision that you're offering today that's a temporary solution, it would require that breweries go out and spend many thousands of dollars to buy specialized equipment to produce a product that you have said in 2 months they won't be able to produce. We need to allow breweries the flexibility to make business decisions to stay afloat. This is an amendment for freedom for breweries, to allow Minnesota breweries in this industry to get off the ground for many of these small breweries. So members, I ask for your support today, and I stand for questions. Thank you.
Representative Halverson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask members to vote no on the Munson amendment. I heard directly from the Craft Brewers Guild, and they this is not the amendment that they would like to see put forward. They actually did not offer any, ask to be offered any amendments on this particular bill. They have been very clear that they are working with their partners, liquor stores, and others to work on the challenges that they are facing. I also want to remind members that according to Governor Wall's latest speech, it's clear that there's an intention, and he's working closely with these businesses to see how we safely open back up, as the virus has led to so much closure and so much need for distancing. The governor's office and others are working closely to make sure that these folks can get opened back up as soon as possible and start serving their wonderful, tasty wares to all of us soon. In the meantime, they are able to sell growlers and crawlers, and hats off to Minnesota consumers who are supporting their local businesses with gusto. Thanks.
Further discussion, Representative O'Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I also encourage a no vote on the Munson amendment. For some of the reasons that Representative Halverson, the chief author of the bill, has underscored, beginning June 1st, many of these organizations and bars and restaurants that offer these products will be able to continue business, although at a reduced pace perhaps, but they will be able to. Representative Munson indicated there's over 144 breweries in the state of Minnesota. That is great. A lot of those are craft brewers, a lot of those are family-owned businesses, and that is made possible by a post-prohibition provision called the three-tier system. If we did not have the three-tier system in the state of Minnesota, we could potentially have large conglomerates that purchase not only the breweries, the distributors, the restaurants, and we could see a contraction of those 144 breweries down to just a handful across the country owned by some conglomerates. To be able to look at the growlers and the brewers that Representative Munson's talking about, that is better debated and discussed at the Commerce Committee in conjunction with the stakeholders, and not on the House floor in an amendment that, as Representative Halverson has pointed out, is not what they are looking for this afternoon in this bill. So again, members, I would encourage a no vote. Representative Munson does bring up some interesting points, and we should debate those in the Commerce Committee. Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, and members.
Representative Munson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Representative Halverson, I know that you put a lot of work into the bill, and thank you also for the provision for allowing Pemberton, which is a city in my district, to have a liquor license. Representative O'Driscoll, you mentioned that breweries can continue to sell their products in growlers and crawlers, and I would urge you to understand that these crawlers are no longer available. The supply chain has been disrupted. And the growlers are also in back order for many breweries. They don't have the supply. Breweries are trying to buy back these glass growlers so that they can actually fill them, because our laws in Minnesota are so restrictive that they cannot continue to sell these products if they don't have the cans in the glass growlers to continue. So I know that the large industry, which supported this amendment last year when there wasn't a crisis, so obviously for business reasons, they support it. The Teamsters Union came out against this bill last year because they are concerned about distribution. But if you don't allow businesses to get off the ground, if you don't allow them to build their business so they can take off, there won't be distribution for them because they'll be closed. This bill that you're about to vote on is about freedom, and it's specifically about not picking winners and losers. Large breweries that have canning lines already that you mentioned are talking to their liquor stores to distribute their beer. They already have canning lines set up. They don't need this provision because they already have the ability to sell their cans to liquor stores. We're talking about the 70% of breweries in your districts that can't sell cans of other sizes. They can't sell crawlers because they can't buy crawler cans that are meeting the specific ordinance that we have, the law that we have for 25.4 ounces. So I'm sorry that we can't hear this in committee because we were in an urgency here with coronavirus. You are going to sink businesses today over the summer because they're not going to stay afloat, because we're not giving them the freedom. We continue to strangle businesses by putting the boot of government on their necks. And it's shameful that we're picking winners and losers and standing by large businesses that already have this distribution network set up and already have the canning lines. I'm fighting for small businesses, and I'm fighting for fairness in all of the breweries, this growing industry. They're trying to compete and trying to survive and keep people in their community employed. I would urge members to vote yes on this bill, and if you want to fix it next year in Commerce Committee, I would urge you to do that. Thank you, members and Madam Speaker.